The roasted chicken sat cooling on the platter, though nobody appeared to care. Linda Monroe, my mother, wore her rehearsed smile while filling mismatched wine glasses, creating an illusion of spontaneity. Richard, my father, sliced the meat with characteristic precision, arranging each piece as though performing for an audience. Jessica, my cousin, laughed far too loudly at Uncle Tom's comment. My younger sister Brianna responded with giggles, spinning her hair around her finger like a teenager. Though she was well past 16, not a single glance came my way. This had become routine. I hadn't intended to remain standing. My plate sat empty, the chair beside it vacant. Though I'd arrived punctually, I positioned myself at the dining room's edge, just distant enough to avoid shadowing their warmth. Hunger was absent anyway. Then the words came. We've been considering. My father mentioned between bites. Perhaps Brianna could stay at your place temporarily, just while she gets back on her feet. Scattered chuckles arose. Jessica actually applauded. She's already been there several days, my mother added, sipping wine as if making casual conversation. We might as well formalize the arrangement. She winked as though she'd delivered something witty. I gazed across the table, not at them, but toward the empty space where I once belonged, where my place used to exist. The familiar tightness gripped my chest, every ignored message, every missed moment, every time they demanded patience, understanding that I be the mature one, while Brianna received excuses and second chances. Once again, I was expected to shoulder the family's burden silently. I traced my fingers along the chair's back, not hers, mine, and tapped the wood once. Interesting thing, I said, keeping my voice low, letting it cut through their chatter. I haven't actually lived there for 6 weeks. Laughter suspended mid-air. A fork clattered against china. My mother froze, lowering her glass. Wait, what? She stammered. I studied her face. Really studied it, not as a daughter regards her mother, but as a stranger trying to comprehend how they'd ended up in the wrong home. She tilted her head slightly. Where have you been staying? I smiled just enough. Not broadly, just sufficiently to convey. I'm finished playing the character you wrote for me. 6 weeks earlier, my apartment still felt like sanctuary. Neutral walls, soft lighting, quietude, not from emptiness, but from years of careful cultivation. I'd constructed that silence, battled for it, purchased it with instant noodle dinners and pre-dawn coding gigs. Then came the midnight knock. I opened the door to find Brianna, mascara streaked, breath catching, clutching 3 disheveled bags with a 4th slung over her shoulder like she was arriving for a vacation. Zach betrayed me, she announced without greeting. Can you believe it? I remained silent. I just need a couple days, she continued hurriedly. Just to recover. Of course, I stepped aside. That's what I always did. I was the elder sister, the dependable one, the person who didn't let people sleep in cars or cry alone in darkness. By day 2, she'd commandeered my bedroom without asking. She called my sheets depressing beige and replaced them with pink florals. Her curling iron claimed the bathroom counter. Her phone charger occupied my nightstand. I found myself on the couch, arms crossed, laptop balanced on my knees, pretending displacement didn't sting. Then came the voices. Unknown friends. Laughter echoing endlessly in the hallway. Wine glasses abandoned. High heels discarded by the entrance like territorial markers. This space is no longer yours. Week 1's end brought a party. It was Friday, the day I had a crucial Zoom presentation that could secure a senior leadership role on an AI project I'd been quietly pursuing for months. I'd rehearsed extensively, perfected my setup, verified every visual element. I made one request. Please keep it quiet until noon. She promised. Instead, I logged into Cardi B blasting from the kitchen with someone shouting about body shots behind me. My screen froze on the worst possible frame, me with my face buried in my hands. The call disconnected. When I reconnected, it was over. No contract, no follow-up. That evening, I approached Brianna calmly, measuredly. Brianna, this arrangement isn't working. I need you to find alternative housing. She didn't look up from her phone. God, you're always so theatrical, she muttered. I stared at her. You cost me a $20,000 contract. She rolled her eyes. Well, maybe they didn't want someone who can't even manage her own apartment. In that moment, I saw it clearly. Not just who she was, but what she thought of me. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I didn't curse while packing my laptop and staring at the blinking cursor of an empty inbox. No contract, No apology, just quiet defeat. Brianna had already moved on. That night, I found her painting her nails in my bedroom, feet propped on my pillows. I stepped back into the hallway and closed the door. Then I called my parents. Richard answered on the second ring. She's going through a difficult time, Catherine. Breakups are messy. She's destroying my career, I said. She's hosting parties in my apartment, trading my privacy for social media content, he sighed. You know how she is. I tried Linda next. Her voice was light, like she'd anticipated this call. She's your sister, she said gently, as if that explained everything. She just needs time. You've always been so capable at handling things. That was it. Nobody asked what I needed. Nobody asked if I was okay. The apartment's air felt thinner afterward. I stood by the kitchen window for a long time. Outside, the street was peaceful. A man walked his dog. A bus hummed past. Somewhere in the hallway, someone laughed, not Brianna. Someone else. The world continued moving. Mine had stopped. I packed a single bag, laptop, wallet, charger, a sweater. I left the key on the counter beside an empty wine glass I'd never used. No note, no goodbye. The door closed soundlessly behind me. Alex, a college friend who owed me nothing but offered everything, had a couch and no judgment. That sufficed. I told him it would be temporary. I stopped counting days. Days passed. 1, then 3, then 10, then 3 weeks. Not a single text. Not one missed call. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji from my mother. Just silence. It didn't sting as expected. It didn't feel like exile. It felt like evidence, proof of something I'd always suspected, but never wanted to acknowledge. They didn't notice my absence. Not because I wasn't loved necessarily, but because I'd always been the one who didn't require checking on, the one who handled situations, the one who made space for others' chaos while quietly sweeping around the edges. Perhaps after years of being the strong one, I'd vanished right before their eyes, and they'd trained themselves not to see it. Alex didn't ask questions. That's what I appreciated most. He had a small Capitol Hill studio, just enough space for 2 coffee mugs and a couch that creaked when I shifted. But it was quiet and nobody slammed doors. Nobody demanded I make room for them. I told him I was between situations. He nodded and offered a spare pillow. I expected guilt to miss something, but guilt never came. The only thing I missed was peace, and now I had it. 3 weeks in, I started counting backward. No texts, no calls, no "where are you" from my mother, no check-in from Richard despite having access to my holiday calendar. Even Brianna, living in my apartment, didn't bother asking why I hadn't returned home. Silence like that doesn't wound when you've already heard its echo for years. It confirms what's been humming beneath everything. I was the invisible daughter. The footnote, the background. Brianna was the storm. I was the shelter nobody thanked. She'd been caught shoplifting in high school. My father blamed the store. I earned straight A's in calculus. He told me to push harder. I graduated debt-free by 24, paid for school with double shifts, learned Python before it became popular. Nobody attended my graduation. They missed that too. Everything I'd built came without applause. Maybe I'd accepted that, mistaking absence of praise for strength, mistaking silence for pride, but 6 weeks without a single message that wasn't strength. That was a blade. One Thursday afternoon, I returned briefly. I didn't knock. The key remained on my ring. Brianna wasn't home. Her pink sneakers sat by the door. A trail of glittery makeup bags and shopping receipts led through the hallway. Her perfume lingered in the air, sweet, cloying. It smelled like deception. I walked through slowly, like touring a crime scene that had once been my life. My clothes were gone. My guitar was gone. My office desk had been moved to the hallway. In its place stood a ring light, tripod, and cheap backdrop reading Breeze Place in cursive vinyl letters. My grandmother's watch gone. The living room was hers now, not borrowed, owned. Before leaving, I placed a small motion-detecting camera behind the bookshelf. It would trigger only on movement or voice, silent and invisible like I'd been. Then I locked the door for the final time. 3 days later, I downloaded the first footage batch. It exceeded my worst expectations. Brianna didn't treat the apartment like a crash pad. She treated it like a brand. My bookshelf became her backdrop. My coffee table became her prop. My walls were covered with LED lights and filters that made everything pink and artificial. She hosted parties, laughed on camera, filmed sponsored skincare videos using my mirror. But that wasn't the worst part. She began selling my belongings. I watched her lift my guitar mahogany, purchased after my first freelance bonus, and pose with it like it was hers. Then she boxed it up. I heard her tell someone on the phone, "Yeah, it's basically new. He barely used it. I'll throw in the stand." She smiled as the buyer handed her cash. Next came the gaming monitor I'd saved 6 months to buy, my noise-canceling headphones, my Bluetooth speaker, my grandmother's watch. Wasn't on the footage, but I saw her rifling through my drawer, lifting something small, then slipping it into her purse without looking back. Then came the envelope. A neighbor had complained to the HOA about her parties. She forged a response under my name. Same slant in the R, same curl in the E. She copied my handwriting with practiced ease, signing off like it meant nothing. It took everything not to slam the laptop shut. Instead, I time-stomped each clip, saved them to a shared drive, and wrote a simple, calm email to Mr. Jenkins, my landlord. I attached the footage, listed the missing items, and stated the truth. My apartment had been unlawfully occupied for 6 weeks. I hadn't been living there. I had not given permission. I had not signed anything. I didn't hear back immediately, but a week later, I received the reply. Brianna had been notified. She was to vacate immediately. No negotiation, no appeal. That night, my phone lit up like a storm. Her name, then my mother's, then my father's. Missed call after missed call, voicemail after text. I didn't answer. I didn't open a single message. I blocked them all. Every number, every email, every handle gone.no. More reaching in. No more demands wrapped in concern. The only voice they'd hear from me now would be backed by facts, by footage, by legal boundaries, and by silence. Because silence, when intentional, becomes power. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to explain. They had finally noticed my absence. But only because something they assumed was theirs had been taken away. Nobody spoke after I said it. I haven't even lived there for 6 weeks. The words hung there, suspended above the chicken and half-full wine glasses like smoke after a small explosion. Brianna's fork hovered mid-air, asparagus trembling on its edge. Linda blinked first. Wait. What? I didn't rush. I let the question settle. I've been gone, I said, for 6 weeks. I moved out the night she threw that party. The one with the body shots and the broken lamp. Richard set down his knife. That's not Catherine. No one knew, I said. That's the point. Nobody noticed. Brianna laughed under her breath, then quickly stopped when she met my eyes. I reached into my coat pocket and placed a sealed envelope on the tablecloth. The sound it made was soft but somehow louder than anything else in the room. What's that? My mother asked. Evidence, I said. Footage, screenshots, copies of the complaint she signed with my name, a complete list of the items she sold. Brianna's face went flat. You were spying on me. No, I said without raising my voice. I was protecting what I built. Uncle Tom glanced from me to the envelope, unsure whether to laugh or look away. You got her kicked out, my mother said, her voice tight. I looked at her. I sent it to my landlord. He handled it. She was never on the lease. You could have told us, Richard said. You could have warned her. You all made decisions about my home without me, I said. She was already living there before you asked. And not one of you noticed I wasn't. Jessica furrowed her brow. Wait, you weren't living there? I turned to Brianna. You moved in, trashed the place, threw parties, sold my things, forged my name, and none of you even thought to check if I was okay. Brianna's voice cracked. You're making a scene. No, I said. I'm making a boundary. I stood slowly, not with drama, but with purpose. This dinner wasn't about seeing me. It was about cleaning up the mess you didn't want to admit was real. My mother started to rise. Catherine, please, but I was already walking toward the door. Behind me, chairs creaked, utensils clinked against china, and the room, once filled with small laughter, folded into something brittle. Before stepping out, I paused at the threshold. This family only checks in when they need something. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I was gone for 6 weeks, and all anyone asked me tonight was if Brianna could stay longer. Then I left them there, choking on the silence they had taught me to live in. Brianna was evicted 2 days after the dinner. Mr. Jenkins didn't care how many tears she faked or how many times she tried to claim she'd been helping with rent. The footage spoke louder than anything she could say. So did the complaint with my handwriting on it. she didn't leave quietly. The texts came first, blocks of rage, all caps, sentence after sentence that read more like screaming than writing. You ruined my life. You're petty. You've always been jealous. I didn't respond. Then came the voicemails, some tearful, some threatening, most incoherent. She said she'd tell everyone the truth about me. She never specified what that truth was. I still didn't flinch. Instead, I filed a police report for the missing items: my monitor, the guitar, the watch. I submitted the footage and copies of receipts. I forwarded everything to my renter's insurance, and they opened a claim within 48 hours. Brianna's full legal name was now attached to an active investigation. I didn't do it to destroy her. I did it to draw the line. She had crossed it too many times. This was the only language anyone seemed willing to understand. The ripple effect came fast. Someone, maybe from the landlord's office, tipped off the boutique where she worked part-time. 2 days later, she was let go. Her Instagram, once all brunch filters and girl boss captions, went dark. Comments disappeared. The curated version of herself cracked under the weight of what she'd actually done. Then came the voicemail from my mother. Her voice was low, tired. "She's your sister, Catherine. You've always been the strong one. Can't you just fix this quietly?" I didn't reply. I sent her a screenshot instead, one from Brianna's group chat the week she moved in. "He's such a loser. Doesn't even know I basically own his apartment now. Whatever. He'll probably thank me for giving it some life." Underneath, I wrote one line: "This is who you protected." She never responded. For the first time, my silence didn't mean I was afraid. It meant I was finished. It was Richard who called. His voice cracked around the edges. I hadn't heard it in weeks. "Your mother's not doing well," he said. "You should come home." I didn't ask questions. I booked a flight, not because I missed them, not because I wanted closure, but because I needed to see her once more before I shut that door for good. When I stepped into the house, nothing had changed. The same floral wallpaper, the same chipped paint on the hallway trim, the same dusty photos of Brianna on every shelf, and Brianna was there, sitting on the couch eating chips, watching reality TV like she hadn't stolen a year of my life, like we were still just sisters, like nothing had happened. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, stranger." I didn't answer. I looked down the hallway. The bedroom door was ajar. I could see a sliver of my mother's figure beneath the blanket. Her body looked smaller, pale, fading. Brianna laughed nervously. "Aren't you going to come say hi?" I stepped back. "No," I said, quiet and steady. "I already said everything I needed to." Her smile fell. "You're still holding a grudge," she scoffed. "Grow up, Catherine." I turned to Richard. He hadn't said a word since I arrived. "Tell her I said goodbye," I said, then paused. "For real this time." And I walked out. No slamming doors, no speeches, just the sound of my footsteps leaving the place where I had waited too long to be seen. Because closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes it's just a closed door. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't sharp. It was measured. Folded quietly with the same hands that had once reached out for their approval and never found it. I didn't include a return address. It begins simply: "Dear Mom and Dad, for years I begged for respect quietly. I let my voice drown beneath Brianna's chaos, beneath your excuses. You only saw me when I was useful. You told me to be the bigger person so often. I started believing being small was my purpose. You chose noise over peace, applause for the storm, while ignoring the shelter. When she lied, you defended. When I broke, you told me to hold it together. But now I choose myself. I'm not bitter. I'm done. This isn't punishment. It's preservation. I'm building a life where my worth doesn't have to scream to be seen, Catherine. No signature flourish, just truth." I didn't leave to be missed. I left so they'd stop pretending I was ever really there. Some of us learn too late that silence isn't kindness, it's permission. That being the strong one only means they think you'll never walk away. But I did, and now the only seat I fill is mine. If you've ever been the one they forgot to notice, if your absence spoke louder than your cries ever did, you don't need to explain at all. Just leave a single one to say, "I was here. I saw this. I understand."